Bruckner is very special. It speaks to a very special group of fans, even in the classical music world itself. A lot of his music is meditative in nature. He presents his material in huge architectural blocks. There's no need as performers for us to mess around and say we need to do this or that in order to bring out the music, because it's all very much in the notes itself. And so that's Bruckner for me in a nutshell. I had the great privilege of studying with Coach Masur in the last few years of his life. And as part of these study processes, I would be attending conducting masterclasses, as much as 4 in a single year, where there would be a set piece or 2 set works. We would study that for a week or 2, and then we'd perform it in concert with Maestro Masur, conducting something else. So we would be sharing the podium, a great honor. In one of these works was Bruckner, the 4th Symphony. I've studied with him very, very deeply. And of course that opened a world, a sound world into the music of Anton Bruckner. And I think it's stuck with me ever since. This whole idea of playing music that speaks to a greater being, but music that's written by a fragile human, a human full of sins like you and me. So as part of Bruckner's 200th anniversary, we're performing the Ninth Symphony, and with a very recent completion that's a revision on the very, very successful SPCM version that was recorded and released by Sir Simon Rattle and the Berliners in 2012. So what we're doing is sort of a final revision on it, or an update to that version. I have done the Ninth Symphony, the 3 movement versions, multiple times. I have always felt that the music ended perfectly at the end of the 3rd movement. I think a lot of my colleagues, a lot of my music lover friends, the ones that we go to concerts with, feel the same way. I've also just recently done it in Japan, just the 3 movement version. And I think we were all very fulfilled at the end of it. But Bruckner never intended. We know from all sorts of sources that he never intended for the music to end with the Adagio. There was something else that would come after that. All his symphonies does, a grand finale. And as he was on his deathbed, and as he was trying to complete his music, he suggested that it could be replaced by the Te Deum for choir and orchestra if he was unable to finish it for some reason. So we know that the music always had an ending, and that ending that he had in mind was one of grandeur and one of transcendence. We also know that the 3rd movement ends with transcendence of another kind. And perhaps was that a will of God, that, or a will of a higher being that said the 3rd movement is all we need for a completed, incomplete Ninth Symphony. We never know. But here we have the finale, and I think it's a very, very strong finale, revised from a very, very strong one 12 years ago. And as part of the 200th anniversary of Bruckner, I think, why not? Let's look at something new, old, new. And again, I think that speaks to the Hallé's tradition, because if we go back to the time of Charles Hallé, who was already celebrating the music of Beethoven, one of the first tributes to Beethoven in 1858 in his first season. But of course that season is peppered with all sorts of contemporary music, no longer contemporary to our views, but I think in his days, music of his fellow composers. And I think that old, present, and future outlook of music making, that is the Hallé, resonates with this Bruckner 9 project. And I think we might be able to get it on record. Let's see how the week goes. But we welcome you to our hall and to celebrate this great spirit that is Anton Bruckner, 200th anniversary. I mean, how many of us have that in our view as mortals? I'm looking at my my next birthdays in a few years would be 40th anniversary. So, you know, this and this, it's a huge contrast.